Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin.Review podcast, where we explore developments and projects with the people who actually make them happen. The show is supported by Pod 2.0, Sat Streaming, and CoinKite. If you're a new listener, I'm NVK. I run CoinKite, where we've been helping people secure their Bitcoins for over a decade. We make the Coldcard and fun products like the block clock. You can find more information about it on coinkite.com.
Hello, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Review podcast. Listening for a audiobook that puts you to sleep? I don't know. We don't know how to call this. This is going to be the quantum resistance episode. Just kidding. You failed the test. Hello, Mr. Rob Hamilton. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Rijndael?
Hey, great to finally be back.
Practically my panel at Up Next.
Pretty much, yeah.
With a lot less clothing on this time.
Yeah, I mean, we're all naked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have right here on the top of the show, the housekeeping, Up Next recap. I mean, that was fun. I flew back to Civilization just to go there. That was fun. Fun to see all the new faces and have a good dinner. What do you guys thought of the whole conference? It seemed to be very high signal.
I enjoyed it. It was at the strategy headquarters, which is basically, I never had been to this part of Virginia before, but basically I think it's where most of the deep state operates.
Well, it is a CIA
playground.
Truman Show.
It's 10 minutes from the CIA.
Yeah, it's all right there. We should have done the field trip to the Cryptography Museum. That's right there too. But yeah, I mean, the venue was great. Strategy were really great, gracious hosts. Yeah. Jameson and I were with crowbars opening door by door, trying to find out where all the Bitcoin keys were and all their logins to their exchanges.
Did you find it?
No, unfortunately not.
I had somebody with me from the team there. And his concern was like, we're not going to take computers to Virginia, right? And I'm like, no, just because I'm lazy. Because, honestly, right. If the CIA wants you, trust me, it's not because you are where their admins are. It's all of a sudden you're at the risk now.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was a good conference. There was a good mix of attendees, I think. There were, it was very dev focused, lots of devs, but I think devs from different parts of the ecosystem. So there were some kind of VM-y people, there were some ordinals people, there were some core dev people, random insurance salesmen. There was a solid mix of attendees, some good topics. The last Op Next was only 1 day long, and I think that was way too short. This one was a good length. I think 2 days was pretty solid.
I thought it was going to be essentially a COPE conference, everybody just talking about the things that they wish were in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That would never get merged. But it was kind of interesting. It was an optimistic tone into what can we do without changing Bitcoin, which is very, very, very a much saner approach.
Mm-hmm. I really like too that there was only one panel conference track, because usually you get to a point at a conference with multiple breakout rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
Where there was one focus, they were increase the signal to noise. It was very high impact, all of the conversations with a good disbursement of panels and deep technical talks. We had live demos. Portland Hoddle did a really great demo of him breaking Bitcoin, and he timed it very well. I think it was the best kind of tech performance I've ever seen, because he timed his stalled block to be 25 minutes, which was most of the length of his talk.
Yeah.
It was very good. And to the tone of optimism, what was really interesting was everyone was talking about here are the active problems that we're working on right now and how they get improved with various upgrades to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much grounded in the reality of here's how this all works.
Yeah.
And a lot of, as with many conferences, most of the great discussion was off stage, in the hallway, where there were a bunch of whiteboards, people drawing things out. I think there was a good just kind of meeting of the minds of people, just being able to shoot the shit and talk about what they're working on and why certain things would be improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also just education and enablement of understanding people this idea or this idea, but people get to actually in person interrogate and talk about these ideas, so they're way more real.
Funny enough, it was not a JPEG conference at all.
No. Yeah.
Even though the presence was felt, it was not about that at all. If anything, it was kind of funny. It was fun to make fun of JPEG people in person,
mm-hmm.
especially at undersubscribed dinner. That was wonderful. That was a lot of fun too. As usual, Twitter is not real life. And, a lot of the people who queue each other on Twitter, they have drinks outside of Twitter and they laugh about a lot of their arguments and they're more reasonable. It's kind of like the two dogs barking when the fence is closed and then you open the fence and the dogs sort of stop barking at each other. Remember what else? There was like an interesting ARC alternative there that doesn't require any changes to Bitcoin. Uncertain if that's viable, but that's for them to come up with proof that works. What else that I found interesting? When I lifted my hand and said that Lightning sucks, there were some faces looking at it, but I think overall was
fewer faces than you would think. Yeah,
I know, right? It's because eventually people need to pay more than feeding chickens, and we all know that Lightning self-custodial is very difficult. But I think we're getting somewhere. People are understanding the nuance in the Lightning sucks narrative. What else did we see there?
I thought something that was really good. I mean, I totally agree. I think the value for a lot of these conferences is just to have a pretense for people who yell at each other on Twitter to get together and have a beer. That's the actual value a lot of times. But it was nice that a bunch of people who work on different parts of related problems were all in one place. So I bumped into somebody that works on mempool policy stuff. And I've done a bunch of work on things that are very reliant on mempool policy. And so being able to grab a whiteboard and jam on some stuff and then pull over some people that are working on new off-chain stuff and all of us just chatting about it was really useful and a lot of fun. So it was great. It was a great conference.
I think too, just being in person is always going to be an upgrade because the problem with social media or even email lists, whatever it is, there's two people you're talking to. There's the person you're directly responding to, and then there's the audience of everyone observing the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think people get to just have more blunt, transparent conversations and not having to worry about being performative when you're having these conversations in person. So I thought it was a great time. The Blockspace Media team, Charlie, Colin, and Will put on a really great show. I really enjoyed it. It was a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And even hearing some feedback around things like CTV and talking about hey, do we actually just drop legacy script?
Legacy support, yeah.
Right. And that's something that I think is as a good faith, just hey, if we're directionally willing to do this, can we reduce the complexity of the upgrade? Are we losing any functionality around that? And just thinking about scoping it. And that's a much more positive, open, receptive thing as opposed to no one's interested in this or give me more use cases, right? It's an actual more reasoned critique and something to think about and consider.
Yeah. I missed the John Ataxa next day talk. How was that?
That was good. The BIP. Yeah, John Tack did a whole review of the BIP stuff. I think it was interesting to see more active stewardship of the BIP repo and kind of reducing the complexity of it and making it more straightforward. One of my favorite implications of this is that BIP 39 is now final. It was rejected for a long time.
It's not unanimously discouraged from implementation or whatever.
Yeah. I think enough money is sitting on words at this point that they kind of had to acquiesce to that.
Yeah, just in times for people to say the seeds are bad.
Yeah, I wonder if BIP 420 is, going to stick or if...
There was a weird thing in here that John Tack said, don't self-assign a BIP. And I didn't understand that, if that was in reference to anyone. Because for me, I went to BIP 420 in the repo and I did not see it there. It's weird.
Well, it's... if you go to... And, it's not really self-assigned, right? Because the people who wrote the cat BIP, Armin and Ethan, they didn't give it the name. But if you go to github.com/BIP420, you'll find it. And, it's a number. There's a lot of numbers. You can have, there's as many numbers as you want.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants a smaller number, right? It's just...
Yeah.
Anyways, it's whatever.
The second day, too, there was also good talks. Jameson did his one on Goldie Blocks, and Jameson did one, I think, a reasoned critique of just talking about the role of Bitcoin and payment size and throughput of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that you probably wouldn't have seen 2 years ago.
James cannot forget big blocks. He really wants his extension blocks.
Those are things that wouldn't have been conversations 2-3 years ago. And I think there's a bit of maybe scar tissue and healing that's happened since 2017. And it's not saying change or do anything right now, but just understanding Bitcoin as a protocol. What are the design constraints we're working against and how to in the future think about how to make the network more responsive?
I mean, I think people try to think of Bitcoin as the sort of like genius sort of gift from the sky, and sort of like, no, like Bitcoin is like an absolute horrible design that just like the stars align and it works. Like
when Satoshi first dropped it, all the cryptographers hated it. They're like, this stuff sucks.
Yeah, like, and I think this is part of the problem. It's like, like just too many people just ascribe all these deities to Satoshi and to Bitcoin, and then they forget that's just like, it's just like SQLite is a project a lot of people use.
It's perfect. Like, yeah, there are some new features that get added to SQLite, but most people, SQLite just works. It's there. It's available.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, a big part of what's so great about Bitcoin is like, it just works. It's always there. It's available. Anybody can use it. Like, there's not external constraints on being able to use it. It like just works. And there's,
I mean, personally, I'm fully against SQL in general. And I don't think people should use it at all for anything, for any reason whatsoever. You should just store shit in objects and just be a real man and search memory.
And just serialize them in a disk.
That's how our web store works. There is no SQL database.
Yeah.
It takes 7 seconds to start to restart the store.
Yeah.
And there is, I think, I don't know, like 7 gigabytes worth of data there.
And they're all legacy 1 addresses.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, just get over yourself. Just learn how to call objects like a real man.
Probably not objects. Like, knowing you guys, it's probably just struct pointers. But yeah,
just giving out the secret sauce on the air.
That's right.
Well, I highly recommend people check out this library called ROM. It's very obscure. Get out there, and you're never going to be able to Google it, which is also part of the amazingness of it. Anyways, any other things from there? I think it was great. It was I think it was a fun little technical conference, technical people, except for a few finance people and some insurance people and some pubco marketing people. It was mostly very high signal.
I'm thrilled Strategy hosted it. I thought that was like, it was nice having like a very high signal, very forward thinking Bitcoin conference at, MicroStrategy, which like has a reputation for not being into that. So that was kind of nice.
Well, it's kind of cool, right? I mean, it comes from a lot of confidence because like Saylor has a very reasonable, I mean, I may not agree with it, but it's a very reasonable, rational reason for not changing anything, right? I mean,
sure.
It works. Don't fuck it up.
Yep.
Right? And, it comes with a lot of confidence to let the people that want to change things go and use their office to put up a conference. The venue is the most expensive thing for a conference.
Yeah.
Right?
Add features to the ETF, not to the base layer.
They've been doing some really good features. That MSTY, you just start printing off some yield, right?
MSTY is great.
Yeah.
I mean, ETFs, MicroStrategy, they're no different second layers than most custodial second layers. I mean, really, there's no difference.
It's actually like a really useful second layer.
Rijndael and I were joking about this. I said that actually MSTR is a layer 3 because you have the Bitcoin, and then the layer 2 is at the custodians. Layer 3 is MSTR. And then you could do MSTY and earn yield on your MSTR. So then that's a layer 4. And this is just in the bifurcation of trusted and untrusted layers. A custodian's a layer 2. Like you don't have the trust guarantees of a Lightning network, but it's a way of aggregating UTXOs and off-chain activity.
I mean, stock splits are non-inflationary.
Yeah.
I mean, also, everybody says that they want like layer 2s, for more expressiveness or, smart contracts or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So like the things that people like really want to do is they want to be able to like swap their Bitcoin for dollars, and they want to be able to like borrow against their Bitcoin. You can do both of those with an ETF. So like the ETF is actually the layer 2 that everybody wants.
Yeah, no, it's when you look at like ETHs, like, Rupert Goldberg contracts and stuff, it's still fully centralized, right? I mean, like pretty much all of them are just some dudes that have keys to a contract that can change the contract. So
yeah,
it really is no different. They can bamboozle the law. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always fun to see state actors being bamboozled, but we all know there is admin keys. Cold is law, right? Except when you can roll back a block.
A regular state change.
That's right. Irregular state change. Yes. Anyways, yeah, that was fun, guys. It was fun seeing you too.
That's a good time.
Absolutely.
All right. Software release and project updates. Coldcard, shared improvements, Mark IV NQ, new feature, multi-sig transaction now finalized, sufficiently signed, allows use push TX of multi-sig. So that's fun. So if you already have one signature, say it's a 2 out of 3, if you have one signature in the PSBT and you're doing the second signature, you can just now broadcast the transaction straight from the Coldcard.
You don't have to finalize it outside with like Sparrow or something.
I have this tag on GitHub issues for Coldcard features called Fuck Computers. And we are further progressing on that intent.
Amazing.
Of essentially like minimizing or fully deprecating computers for participating in any Bitcoin related transactions if we can, as far as we can, with embedded hardware. Because, your porn consumption should not be on the same machine of whatever you do with your money. It's a terrible mix of security concerns.
You'll have Pornhub and PSBT Hub, and those should not be on the same machine.
Ooh, that feels like a good domain.
Yeah. PSBT Hub. You should absolutely get PSBT Hub. And whenever you hit broadcast, it should play the Pornhub like theme.
Oof.
And like instead of like the Mempool space chime. That'd be really funny.
Have you guys noticed ever the name of our Edge firmware is for Edge releases?
Yeah, you're edging it. You're edging the features out.
Yeah, and they never get merged into master.
So if we're saying fuck computers, like the obvious one is transaction construction.
Yeah,
It seems like the queue probably has enough hardware for it.
we talked about this last Bitcoin review. No one was awake though for that, so we should replay that again.
I'm working on it.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
What we want is PSBT Hub.
I mean, yeah, I was going to ninja buy it, but I didn't want to be a rude guest on the show, so I'm letting you graciously go take it. So while you're buying domains,
Yes.
the biggest thing you would need, right, for constructing this stuff is you would need the UTXO set, basically.
Yep.
So you need some way to be able to like pass that in.
Yep.
And and I guess if it's all within your own wallet, you already have the output descriptor, so you can do all the redeem scripts and everything, right?
Yep.
The cool thing would be, like, the ultimate end state would be getting the entire, just like when blocks are diffing, you can just get the diffs for your transactions, like since the last time something happened. But like if you could just start with those out points, right, those TX IDs and then the out point.
Like the same way there's like the push TX endpoint. It would be cool if you had some URL and you put like your UTXO out points as like query parameters. And then if you go and hit whatever Mempool space or something that Coldcard hosts or whatever.
PSBTHub.com.
PSBT Hub, exactly. then it returns your UTXOs and then you're able to go and do your transaction construction.
I have a very good domain for this. I'm not going to share yet because it ruins the feature release.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to accomplish here is Coldcard essentially takes in multiple ways a list of UTXOs, mind you, right? Like there's going to be limitations to this.
Of course, sure.
Because of memory. So like this is not for your shopping cart, 30,000 record sort of issue. This is more like for your treasury sort of thing where, you might have like 100 UTXOs, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I still don't know the limit. And also, this would not work for, actually, I haven't tested, but I assume it won't work for more than 3 out of 5 kind of thing because of the computation of the multisig.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the point is there's a few ways we're testing of like the inbound of the transactions. So you have the UTXO list, and then you can coin select, right, to span.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you sign it, the Coldcard assumes it's spent.
Yeah.
Until you sync it again.
Yeah.
And then it gets a fresh list of available UTXOs. It could be the same ones because maybe you never broadcasted, right? But wouldn't that be cool, man? Like you're so done at computers now. Like,
I mean, so just to think about this for a second, right? Like, what are the pieces here? And for those that are still awake, because this has been pretty exciting up to this point, we're talking about conferences and Pornhub. So the start of when you're thinking about for what is an actual like UTXO, right? It's the TX ID of a previously spent transaction in the out point, right? Like the index of if you have, two inputs and one output, right? You have the first and the second, previous spend in that transaction. So you need to pull that in. And then you need to do some sort of mapping saying, hey, this UTXO actually belongs to this redeem script, right? You need to do a little bit of the Coldcard would have to do some awareness of, okay, I have this UTXO, but that is actually this change address or this receive address. And once you do that mapping, you actually have all the information you need to be able to reconstruct the transaction. Or am I missing? I think that's what you need. You need to do a mapping of here are the UTXOs, and then, okay, this UTXO specifically maps to this address index on your Coldcard, either change or receive.
If you just use more grug brain language, it becomes even easier and simpler.
Sure.
Just like, this is the list of coins I have. Remember coins?
Outpoint and script hub key.
Outpoint and descriptor. And you have to outpoint to the descriptor.
Yeah, this is the coins I have. Can I, make me a transaction? Because you can scan an address.
Yep.
You can also scan a PSBT in.
You need the amount of the outpoint too, right?
Yeah. So essentially you'd make, it's the usual making a transaction UX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you scan an address that you want to send it to, or maybe it's in your list.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's an address you own on that same wallet, right? Maybe you want to consolidate something.
Right.
So essentially you input the address with one of the input methods, and then you select the amount,
yep.
Select fee,
yep.
Select coins, Bob's your uncle.
It'd be really cool to also have Sparrow do some sort of export of your outpoints and descriptor mapping, and then just go boom, boom, scan a QR. You now have state, you have temporary state in the sense of where the UTXO snapshot is.
No reason why you can't have that, right? It's just a matter of putting in the time and building it.
Sure. I
think just furthering that thing, right? This last update was a lot about that. So, for example, signing artifact re-export into various mediums. So, you can now export all the stuff the transaction, the signed transaction, the PSBT, and this stuff is available now to you for you to choose what you want to do with it.
I'm not thinking about this too. So the one thing you'd want to red team and make sure is working correctly is you don't want to get lied to about the amounts, right? Because let's say you have 10 Bitcoin at a UTXO and you export I have 1 Bitcoin here, and you go and spend that 1 Bitcoin, the 9 Bitcoin goes out as fees, right? But what would be really cool is once you fully, we
monitor for that already.
You probably already thought it through, but going through the full steps is that you would do a snapshot, and then you would currently be on your Coldcard, it would say, I have 7 Bitcoin at my wallet here. And then you'd be okay, that number matches the number I have on another machine. I now know I have an accurate snapshot, and then you're totally fine.
Jesus, a crab just tried to bite my toe.
It's the Rust devs. The Rust devs are coming for MBK. The crabs are attacking.
Jesus Christ. Let's see if I can get one for you guys. Continue talking.
If you're doing Taproot, the signature actually commits the amount.
Oh, there you go.
Sweet.
Good call out. Another reason why I'll move to Taproot.
Well, and that's why if you're using CAT to do covenants, you can do address introspection because you have to commit to the amount, and so you have to build that amount into the signature commitment.
That's something I remember, but I totally forgot about. This brought back up, right? So Taproot is unique in that you actually, when you use Taproot, you commit to the amount that you're spending. So now you're caught up, Rodolfo, after you're fighting the Rust devs that are attacking you, all the crabs.
That was a very feisty crate over there. So, So then the multi-sig export files are now signed. Everything's signed.
Yay.
NFC export usability upgrade. So NFC keeps exporting until cancel. So it keeps on trying for the people who have shitty phones. We added Bitcoin safe.
Love signing. Sign all the data. Unsigned data, bad.
Okay, improvements in performance. We don't care about that. Okay, so the heavyweight features, which is the Coldcard cosign, CCC, triple C.
Most excited about. I want to talk about that.
Same.
So this is collaborative multi-sig of yourself on the same device. I think we talked about this a few times already on the show, or maybe I was sort of a little bit more coy and didn't give the details. But the idea is you have a secure environment, right? I mean, that's the limitation, right? Is the device's security. So, don't go ape your whole sort of cold storage for your children into this. But this works fairly securely for most things. Really, for quite a bit of money, it should be fine. So essentially, you have, say, for example, you have a 2 out of 3, right? Multi-sig. One key is your backup. right? Goes into the bush, whatever. And then you have your Coldcard key, which is your normal key. And then there is one more secret key inside the Coldcard that's going to be, and you define these. This is all user definable. So we're not inventing a key for you that, we pull it out of our asses and can rug you. So, and this Coldcard key sits behind a policy enclave. So essentially, like, you have velocity, you have daily limits, you have white list addresses. So for example, if that Coldcard is your treasury management, like you're in between treasury management, you can only send to your treasury addresses, for example. And it could be a long list. 2FA is really cool. So Web 2FA.
How does the Web 2FA work?
The 2FA is done on the web and then you scan it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's how, because the Coldcard doesn't have a clock.
Yeah, right.
But it can reinforce tries, right? So it's fairly robust.
Is like the target deployment mode here that you have a separate Coldcard and that's like your policy signing one, or do you do this on the same as like
same one?
Okay, so I would have like two of my keys on one Coldcard.
Yes.
And one of them is policy enforcing, the other one is a normal key, and then I have my third key buried, under the tree in the backyard.
I mean, if you really wanted to, you can put part of that stuff in a separate Coldcard, but that's not what the design intent is.
Yeah.
You cannot change the policy without showing the whole seed. So if you want to change the policy, you have to input every single word of the seed.
Excellent.
Of the first key, right?
Oh, no, of the Coldcard key. The policy key.
The policy key. Oh, so you're able to export that policy key out, or I thought it was locked down?
Yes. No, because we want people to have backups.
Understood.
Because the important part of this whole threat model is you are not near the seed.
Got it.
Right? Say, for example, you're traveling or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the seed with you to input that seed under duress.
Right.
Understood.
In order to change the policy, right?
Or somebody steals your Coldcard and knows the PIN or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Understood.
And like we said about the port knocking, it's hidden in there.
Right.
It doesn't appear unless you provide a PSPT that has that XPub.
Right. So you have full plausible deniability. So the only way it would ever even acknowledge that that key exists is that you have already knowledge of the output descriptor because you're able to present a transaction in a PSPT that uses that key. Otherwise, it won't even show it existing within the Coldcard itself.
So for humans, the cool thing is you set this thing once, you go travel, and you bring enough money, I don't know, to buy a car or something like bigger with you. You are able to exist in that adversarial environment. Or if the device gets found or whatever, like you're in a much better place.
I'm thinking to tie it, I'm not sure if Rijndael has more thoughts on the CCC. I think there's a lot there. I mean, let's just talk about like the policy enforcement, right? So you have your addresses and you have your velocity, and your velocity is actually based on the end lock time of the previous transaction. So it's maintaining an awareness of, hey, I previously signed a block height 1 million. You said you only want to every 1,000 blocks do something. I can't sign anything with an end lock time lower than 1,000,000.
Right.
And this works because although the Coldcard does not have time, every Bitcoin transaction has a native time lock field that's already embedded in it. And you can use that as a recurring clock to make sure that it's self-aware. It could know for a fact that I only signed a transaction with block height 1 million or whatever, right? And so you can kind of extend that out in the future.
Yep. What else? Maybe in the future, a mini script to be available in features like this.
Sure.
So you can do decaying, multi-sigs and shit like that.
Yeah.
The whole point of this feature was like, we want to be practical, right? So for people who need this right now, and we want to sort of expand the design space of hardware wallets so that they can do more. They can be proper HSMs, right?
Yeah.
Without computers, because fuck the computer.
Right.
No, really. Like, it's just so bad out there. And, we want people to be safe.
I mean, what's kind of nice, right? Is like it's a little bit of like a you're doing kind of covenant emulation, right? Where it's like sort of right where it's like, hey, I've got my Coldcard, and my Coldcard on its own obeys some set of policy, but then with my Coldcard and my other key that I bury under the shed, I can bypass all of that policy. Right. So like I say, okay, this thing has velocity control. I can't spend more than 1 million sats every 144 blocks. But then if I go and, dig up the hole in my backyard, I can like spend all of my Bitcoin. And like you can do velocity control that way. I like, can you stack these policies? Can you do like
Yes,
velocity control or whitelist?
absolutely. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Because like that's what you want, right? You want to be able to say like,
Yes.
hey, if I'm sending it to this like other trusted wallet, all you can eat. If it's going anywhere else, then it's under like a velocity control.
I mean, and remember, right? Like most people that have corn,
Yeah.
like real base layer Bitcoin,
Yeah.
they're not gonna have enough that they are concerned about like a laser lab attack on them.
Yeah.
Right? Like realistically speaking, right? Like the attack will cost more than what they have. And still unproven that's capable of taking the seed out of these devices. Just, we're just starting from the premise that anything's possible with enough time and enough money, right? So, but realistically speaking, most people will be well served by something like this and it'll be fine. And they have plausible multi-sig now, right? So if somebody attacks them or whatever, like they have multi-sig addresses, which is great. It's just like, look, like it's real multi-sig. They're not bullshitting you. It's like there's no passphrase that it can hit me for.
Yeah.
And it works when you're away. You can overwrite with a backup, and that could be a coworker, that could be a family member or whatever. And they don't have visibility of the script or of the amounts. This is great. And it's cheaper, like because it's single Coldcard, right? Like so, it's cheaper than what it would cost for somebody to have whatever those thresholds of money are using services. There's non-doxing in terms of like servers or other services, right? Like it really is, in my opinion, a leap.
I just thought of a funny application for this. I want to say this out loud. You guys tell me if this is crazy. I think you could actually do a pretty badass vault with two of these. So what you do is you have two cold cards that both use these. You have like A and B, right? And all of your corn is sitting in A, and it has a policy that the only thing that it can do is address whitelist. Like it can only send to B. So you can send to B whenever you want. B has actually, can you do this? The thing I was trying to get to is, can you have a time delay between when that happens and when B is able to send? Because if you can, then you can do like,
if you had Miniscript enabled, you could do relative time lock. You do a relative time lock for once it lands at B, right?
Because the thing I'm trying to get to, right, is like
Opvault.
Yeah. Basically emulating Opvault is like it like moves to B, and then you gotta like wait. And you can immediately send it back to A with address whitelisting, or after a relative time lock, you can send it anywhere else. If I'll have to like go and play with it, but like if you can construct that, then I think you can do like a really badass vault with it.
You can mix this with CK Bunker too.
Can you?
Yeah,
that could be one of the keys. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
One of the cosigners could be a remote CK Bunker.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So CK Bunker is still on the Mark IV, but I think it's not on the queue now, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of pointless to be on the queue. It's like CK Bunker is like, it's for you to leave that device plugged.
Right.
Right. Like
right. You don't need the big screen because it's low use. You're not physically touching the thing often.
That's no point. So, and then we did the whole key teleport thing, right?
Yep.
So we talked about this on the last episode. So you have a way to send any secret that exists in the device to somebody else on a video call or whatever using QRs, because we do Hall Diffie-Hellman. So this thing starts to get interesting, right? Because let's say, for example, you're leaving remote and you need to set up a new wallet and you want multi-sig or whatever. So you could set up a Coldcard cosign and you could send the backup to a family member over video call. They can etch it in metal and stick it under the mattress for you. And like, you're kind of like good to go. Like, isn't that crazy? Like,
yeah, it'd be interesting. Could you combine these features in that you could do the key teleport to pass to the original Coldcard, the unlock, right? So you could actually use the secure handoff with this for the key teleport to go back to the original Coldcard that has the vault key, the cosigner, the CCC cosigner locked, and you could pass a payload to unlock the script.
Yes.
That'd be a good prompt when you're... So since you need to type in the original seed phrase to be able to
Here's the policy.
change the policy.
Yeah.
You could have, right, like in this example, like I could hold your policy backup key for you, Rijndael, and then like you're like, oh shit, I need to update it, but like Rob's the guy who holds the key. We got on a key teleport, and I could just like live like transmit over the Diffie-Hellman exchange the seed phrase, and then unlock your policy for you.
Yeah,
like your family member.
Yeah.
So you can have a key that like is locked down 99% of the time, but you can do a secure comms handoff to update the policy and then lock it down again.
A huge motivator for this key teleport thing is like reality is most people are now like super remote, like traveling a lot, living in different places. And, you know, we bump into issues sometimes where it's like we have to create a new SSH key for some server that, you know, we need to share with a coworker or something, right? And, you know, you can send that key now to somebody else over key teleport. You know, if you need to, it's just like, I don't think people understand that like you simply cannot even paste secrets on a computer anymore.
Well, and it's funny because like there's other solutions to this, but they involve like a lot of moving parts and a lot of infrastructure. So you could say like, hey, I'm going to set up a certificate authority, and we're going to use like SSHCA to like do it that way.
That's what the military does, right? Like state actors do this.
Computers, right?
Yeah. And you have to have a clean computer to do this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like now you have to be a CA, and like that sucks.
And now people have all these fucking AI plugins on their computer and phones that can see everything that they have. Yeah. So essentially they're sending to ChatGPT all their keys all the time. You know, it's a miracle that we haven't leaks yet.
Yeah. I love that all of the like agentic coding tools are all getting like YOLO mode.
Yes.
Where it just has like full write access to everything on your machine. Yes. And people are like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. I don't want to set up this NPM package. I'm going to give you root access on my machine so I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. I'm surprised that people haven't packaged something like Cursor as a VM already. Because that would be the move. You know, just because, you know, like if you have a real OS, you understand what jails are.
Yeah.
If you don't have jails, you're not using a real OS.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like that, the problem is resolved, right? I mean, at least until the AI figure out how to get out of jail. But like,
as NVK does more vibe coding, the amount of fuck computers is going up because he realizes that he needs to cover that.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's so over, guys. Every time I open that fucking thing, I go like, oh my God.
You know what the problem is? Like somebody at one of the AI vibe code tooling companies is going to be like, wow, we should really isolate this from the rest of the machine. And their answer is going to be like Docker. And everybody's going to say like, oh, it's fine. Now it's in Docker. This is all secure now. And
but they have a Docker plugin.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because that's it, right? The plugin is the security.
Well, and you can be like, hey, Claude, write me a Docker breakout exploit. And like, I'm sure it'll fucking do it. You know?
I mean, we are at that point. We're, like, it's like, I keep on saying, like, the AIs are there. The problem is the tooling is not there yet.
Yeah.
It's just like the prompt glue, the RAG, is just doesn't get the AI to do the exploit for you quite yet. Well, but we're close because the AI can do it.
I've got one more question about the Coldcard co-signing before we move on.
Yes.
So, you know, you can have multiple seeds in like a queue now with like, you know, seed vault or whatever, and like you can switch between them.
Yeah, seed vault.
Yeah. Can you switch between multiple co-signing keys, or is it just one?
No, you can load any seed you want.
Okay, and then you can have like a policy. So I can have like multiple policies on different seeds?
No. It's the seed enclave thing with the policy is just one.
Okay, that's what it was.
It was going to be too much run around and open for holes if we start making it too...
You have to just buy more cold cards. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You know what? I'm just trying to figure out how to make my OpVault emulation work with like, maybe I just...
And because the answer is just buy more cold cards.
Yeah, no, like seriously, if you can afford to have the need for so many seeds, you probably can afford more devices. It is a tricky thing with the design, right? Once you start abstracting too much to have too many multi-tenant sort of things, the amount of holes is exponential there. I mean, if we see pickup demand, then it makes sense. We can always look into it, but not at this time.
If you just had end sequence enforcement, Rijndael, you'd be able to do the full thing, I think. You'd have to do something man in the middle for now to do the forced time delay. I'm trying to think how you could set that up. You could set the whitelisted address you're spending to could just be an address that has an end sequence on it, has a relative time lock on it, and then it's just outside the Coldcard. You'd have to use the Coldcard Edge firmware to co-sign it out the door, but you'd be there. You could enforce it then.
Are people not watching? Rijndael is vibing right now.
Yeah. So I think what I would want to do is have like 2 tap leafs, right? One tap leaf has a relative time lock on it, and that is like a policy unconstrained key, right? And then I have another tap leaf that does not have a relative time lock, but the signer for that enforces a policy that it can only go back to my deep storage cold card.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you can say my deep storage cold card can move to the intermediate stage. Intermediate stage can send anywhere after a relative time lock, or it can go back to storage. And now you have almost op fault emulation, but not quite, because like you're not committing to the address ahead of time, but it's like 80% of the way to a vault implementation.
Yeah, it's getting close.
It's getting there. Yeah.
I mean, it's not as secure as on-chain vaults, of course.
Sure.
But, you know, like, I keep on saying this, right? Like, I mean, again, most people are not going to have enough funds on something like this. It's like, you know, they're going to have a multi-million-dollar attack on them. You know, it's, and if you are at the level where that is the kind of attack that's like, dude, you have bigger problems. You know, they're going to have a PI, they're going to show up at your house and put a gun to your head. You know, really. And then things get complicated in different ways. Oh, one cool thing about the CCC, the cosign feature, is that I think you can wipe it or hide it using the delta pin.
Cool.
So if you're in a little bit of a snag there, you can just put the delta pin if you set that up, and then boom, it's gone. Including your seed vault can be gone.
Nice.
We expanded the delta to sort of erase all these other things if you want, because people are holding bigger secrets in there than they used to. Yeah, I mean, next all you need to do is support email in the cold card, and I mean, we have a feature complete iPhone competitor.
I'm looking forward to whatever the Q Mark II is, or whatever that
Q2.
That's going to have like a little vector coprocessor in there, so you can have like a little LLM on your cold card.
Not impossible.
I want to see embedded hardware doing token prediction.
Yeah.
MicroPython.
I might have one or two other issues with higher priority above that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe one or two.
Maybe. All right. Bitcoin Core version 29. Notable changes. P2P network changes. Mempool policy and mining changes.
Ephemeral dust landed. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
If you want a comprehensive Bitcoin Core review, I highly recommend the OpTech podcast. It's the serious, non-sleeping version of the Bitcoin review for Bitcoin Core.
With more clothing.
Yeah, they just don't have the same sense of humor. That's all. Yeah. Schmitty is okay. Just he needs to improve it.
He runs a professional shop. He runs a professional operation.
I know. Laughing is not allowed.
Yeah, ephemeral dust is cool. I think that's a big, even beyond maybe some silly use cases Rijndael has in mind for it. I think it's pretty cool for being able to just have this like zero output that you can kind of delegate later and figure out how to manage your fees. I think it's a big win for everyone. Although I'm sure you've done some mischievous stuff already, Rijndael, with that.
It's super important for anything on pre-signed transactions. I think it's also kind of a really big deal for like CTV or any other covenant proposal, because it means that you don't have to bake fees into it. Like, I mean,
it's a big point. Like CTV, like 5 years ago, this stuff I think came out of the discussions around what does it look like for like paying of fees for transactions that are pre-signed, like CTV and stuff. And it looks like you can kind of revisit and optimize a lot of things now, knowing that you can have this zero sat output, which means that anyone can kind of pick this up and pull it forward in a child pays for parent, which allows you to just bring a new UTXO to the arrangement to pull that fee forward, which is nice. It cleans things up a lot.
Well, so I mean, it also like, there's keyed anchors in Lightning right now. So like each end of a Lightning channel has a keyed anchor. But with keyless anchors, now you only need one of those because either participant can bump it.
Mhm.
It also makes anchors much more composable in something like Miniscript. Like if you want to say, I'm going to draw a box around this policy and be able to plug it into other things like Lego bricks, having a standardized way of saying like, oh yeah, this is what an anchor output looks like makes things a lot more composable.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's and for those still making home, like this is just trying to get around the problem of right now the fee management for anything that was more complex in Bitcoin. You always had to bake in those fees. You always had to kind of like budget for them, and then maybe a tree of many different kinds of fee rates depending on what the fee rates were going to be. This simplifies it.
We just had this problem where we had people time log about 1,600 different outputs for Ordinal's project, and we had to bake the fees into it, and we didn't know what fees were going to look like when they got released, so we just baked 10,000 sats into every one of them, and it was big fees.
Yeah, I mean 16,000 times 10,000. Yeah, it wasn't a Bitcoin, right? I'm just doing the math up.
1,600, yeah.
16, yeah. So I mean, that's a big point. I think this is also somewhat of like a response of Core from seeing the emergence of things like Mempool Accelerator and like dark pools and people like doing things out of band. They want to be able to provide some way that you can negotiate fee bumping without having to go out of band in the protocol. Right? They want to try and make it a more default nature that you can, within the network of Bitcoin, you could take a transaction and bump it without having to ask a miner for special permission to put your thing ahead of the line.
I mean, this is perfect. When I need to answer some DMs, you just let you guys go about,
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
fee dust shit or just no dust in. I don't even know what you guys were talking about.
Ephemeral anchors.
Oh, ephemeral anchors. Actually, those are useful.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Yeah, they are useful. Being able to park an output that anyone could just bump later makes the fee negotiation so much easier.
Yes, I'm surprised he made it to Core.
Not only did they make it in, but you can do it with 0 sats now, which is pretty cool.
That is this is a strange one to make it. Did Willie say anything about it?
I don't know. Gloria's been the big champion of this, right? On the maintainer side, working on this with the Mempool stuff.
Instagibbs did a lot of the work.
Instagibbs, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, not a maintainer, but one of the Spiral Wizard Instagibbs.
Yeah. Cool. All right, BDK version 1.2.0. TX Builder function accepts anything that implements InfoScript buff. They updated a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Saw Steve at Up Next. It was nice.
Yep.
Great project. They are their own foundation now. So if you want to send some sats to them, go for it. Good project.
Anchorwatch is one of the inaugural corporate sponsors for the foundation.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So they're actually adopting a few more crates to maintain.
Are they really?
For the people who don't know, it's a crust name for libraries because calling it libraries wasn't woke enough, so they call it crates. And it's really cool. I mean, the work that they do is great. They're making wallets for most people sane. All right, Coinswap version 0.1.1. Coinswap is a functioning, minimal viable binary and libraries for performing trustless P2P Maxwell Voucher Coinswap protocol.
Lutheran's not around. He hasn't been around for a while, right? He got sick. And he's been out.
He's he retired.
Yeah,
it's a shame. The absolutely brilliant dude.
Yeah, important.
Yes.
And Coinswap's different in the sense that instead of combining your transactions, right, you actually are able to swap your UTXOs, right? So it's a different way of doing privacy.
Yes. Super cool. So yeah, that's out there. Go play with it. Electrum Wallet. Now they have a plugin architecture. What could go wrong? But something tells me, just looking at this on its face, it's like, okay, how can we enable people to do privacy things, integrate this with things that you're not allowed without like having to deal with their bullshit or review their code?
User space plugins.
User space plugins, exactly. So now they have plugins on Electrum and NIP47 plugin, which is great. Nostr Wallet Connect is also part of it now as a plugin. It's interesting. Like Electrum is one of those wallets that like it is always surprising to me that's still maintained.
It's never going away.
It's probably like 95% now sort of like code that was just added later. And it's very difficult to maintain and like, and you don't want to touch stuff because it's battle hardened as well. So it'll never go away because, it is a useful project, and God bless anyone who tries to make UX be a spreadsheet, as it should be. It would be pretty amazing though if somebody tried to sort of do like a great cleanup. It's good to have a Python implementation of a Bitcoin wallet.
True.
For example, Sparrow is amazing, but it's Java, right? So it's really going to be just great.
Just Craig forever. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
The best.
Exactly. Nobody else going to participate, right?
It's a good way to be a one-man band.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you could also do Python now with Bitcoin Dev Kit bindings, but then that's rebinding all of the stuff in Rust. And so you can use Python, but then it's the foreign language bindings. You can take BTK and put it into Python.
Yeah, and it's never one-to-one.
No.
I think what a lot of people don't get, is that, the reason why everything ever always comes back to Python is because it's extremely legible language. It's very easy to audit it. It has insane amount of support for most money things, right? There's a million fucking libraries for accounting, for number manipulation, for everything, right? Very battle tested.
Easy to find people who will write patches for you. You can hire a dude off the street to write Python for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you can read the patches.
Yeah.
I wonder if somebody would go and sort of rebuild Electrum, so all the business logic part in Python, and then sort of leverages BDK for a lot of the Bitcoin heavy lifting, because that would be amazing. I don't think you can write all the business logic in Rust in any reasonable amount of time.
But I mean, also, there's a bunch of people who just have some old Electrum wallets and Electrum works.
Yeah.
They don't need anything. They just need it.
You never update.
Yeah.
You run it on a VM, virtual environment, right, for the Python version that you had, and that's it.
Electrum just has a certain Lindy install base because it is forever has been included in Tails.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got removed.
It did get removed, but if you have your old computer under a under a mountain somewhere, and you go
download the node Tails,
and you just and that's what I'm saying. So if someone set up their self custody stack 5 years ago, they may still just have that set up, and they don't want to change it, and they know it works. They're not going to fuck with it.
Yep.
I can't remember why did they get removed from Tails. Probably some dependency doesn't match anymore. Doesn't
maybe. A couple months ago, you had Craig on the show, and we were talking about what would it take to get Sparrow included. And it's you have to get sponsored, and it's a whole, it's a massive, trench to try and get included in any of that stuff prepackaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only VX backdoors are allowed to be merged into Linux projects. Can't do Bitcoin. All right, BTCPay Server version 2.1.0, multi-sig flow, and all users are using BTCPay Server, remove Zcash and Monero.
I didn't know they had that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why it's being removed.
Yeah. The thing about the Monero stuff is you have all these loud people, but nobody fucking uses it. Actually, no, dark markets do, right? I haven't checked that stuff in a long time.
Yeah, but the dark markets aren't running BTCPay Server. So
No. No, they're not. See, that to me was the biggest failure of Lightning for payments. It was the fact that dark markets never blasted.
Yep.
It's great for Custodio, but Custodio is not good for dark markets. So the people who have needs, not wants, always understand the trade-offs immediately.
Yep.
All right, Nunchuk Android version 1.9.67, option to disable key path spanning on Taproot, move SIG to multi-sig wallets, the estimation key path, and a bunch of other updates. Nunchuk is great, man. Give the team feedback. They really listen to feedback, which is fantastic. I highly recommend people engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
They are on native, on desktop, and both phone platforms. It's great. All right, what else? Liana version 10. Man, 10 is a big number.
Mm-hmm.
This version does not introduce any breaking changes in the database schema. Well, that's a good feature for a version 10.
You'd think for a major release that you would have some backwards compatibility issues, yeah.
Yes. 2 new features are implemented: backup and third-party keys fetching during the install. Cool. So they have a few updates there.
Looks like, you could fetch XPubs from a key provider. So it looks like they're trying to do some sort of, you work with someone, you just put in a token, and then you can, within the Liana client, just get an XPub. right? You don't have to worry about negotiating it ahead with someone and like, oh, send it to me in an email or secure message or something. It just gets embedded in the client.
Yeah. I think it's a cool project, and they're going to really, really be amazing when there's covenants.
Yeah.
The Mempool open source project version 3.2.0 highlights support V3 transactions, support anchor outputs, new UTXO bundle chart, and address page data miner tags. Cool. It's a bunch of changes here, man. It's a great fucking project. It really is.
Absolutely. Wiz and the whole team over there crank out some good stuff. We talked about the visualization for all the TapScript stuff. So if you reuse an address, you can see all the different leaves. Like, so cool.
Oh, look at that. Cove is right here. So version 0.3.0 upgrade BIP 329. Check because they updated, right? We added more fields to 329, so now it supports some accounting needs. That was a nice update to the BIP. Check for the next 30 addresses for transactions even if it's not revealed. Tap signer support. Readable card indent. Sign PSPT using tap signer. Watch for changes on unconfirmed transactions. They had another test flight recently. Can't remember what the updates were, but it's getting closer to release on the store. They support a bunch of stuff, and there is coin control coming. And I think it's going to be the easy, simpler base layer wallet that we recommend to people to get started with.
Oh, yeah?
Your phone wallet?
Yeah, because it is very easy to go from that being a phone wallet to having a hardware wallet work with it.
Okay.
So you can migrate it to a hardware wallet using the same app, the same understanding, same sort of basics, without having all the complexity and all the scary looking things. It's good. I think they're going to integrate a key teleport to receive a key.
Oh, nice.
So then when you're setting up the ephemeral proverbial grandma,
Yeah.
she can just show her phone and you can scan it, and then she scans your Coldcard on a video call, and then you can set her up with a BIP85 key or something.
Well, that'd be cool.
Nice.
So grandma can have a key. Grandmas don't exist.
No.
Bitcoin grandmas are total psyop. All right. BoltzExchange, boltz-web-app, version 1.7.3. Include rescue key in backup and Portuguese translations. Improve UX for copying addresses, invoice, link on a click. RoboSats, version 0.7.6. Updated. Bitcoin Safe. They expand QR sign message for compatibility, and wallet import via QR. It's a cool. So, like I think I mentioned in the last show. So it turns out the guy behind Bitcoin Safe was one of the guys behind Spectre Desktop.
Yep.
It's a vote of confidence. For people that don't know, software, having some wrap time developing that NIM sometimes is more important than a cryptographic signature. At the end of the day, you're trusting somebody.
Right.
Blockstream Green, Android version 4.1.8, iOS version 4.1.8, some LBTC stuff, Rust Payjoin,
Yes.
version 0.23.0.
Dan Gould's been doing some cool stuff around this. They won the hackathon at the MIT Bitcoin Expo. They put Payjoin into Liana Wallet.
Nice.
So they did some pretty cool stuff. Like the whole project's been cooking along nicely. Dan does great work over there.
Yeah, man. It's we need more privacy. We've decided internally that we're going to now do. I mean, we've been doing a bit of that, but now more as an official policy internally is that we're going to essentially coin join into Treasury and probably out of Treasury as well. What we're trying to figure out is how to do the tax bullshit and everything else with all the JoinMarket leakage, because that will cause cap gains.
Because you're moving the UTXO, you're recognizing a new cost basis.
No, because if you consider everything to be a single pool of coins for accounting purposes, that's fine. The problem is the leakage is crystallizing transaction, right?
Right.
Because you do leak like a good 5% between the takers and network fees and stuff. It does add up.
Got it.
I mean, mind you, right? Bitcoin moves 5% 10 times in the same day. So there is that issue, accounting concerns. but we're building some software to sort of resolve some of that in a way that will satisfy certified accountants. I think we need to set the precedent for companies to do that more often. Because see, we're not trying to achieve like full anonymity, even though this would. The concern is preventing vendors that are getting paid from our coin pool from seeing how much coins we have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a security privacy concern more than it is a state actor can see my coins, because the state actors can see the coins anyways inside the company.
Like you said, you're doing tax accounting and reporting on it, right? You're not trying to do that. You're just trying to make sure that if you pay an employee, all of a sudden they don't see where all the coins are sitting, how they're being secured, and they can start doing analysis on them.
Because we were going to do Lightning, but Lightning cannot handle paying salaries. It's just too much money.
Have you considered paying them less?
I did,
Okay.
but they did not consider receiving less. So
Okay.
Interesting.
it was an impasse.
Okay. I'm just trying to solve problems here.
Doesn't hurt asking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Bolt 12 fixes this because like the problem is that they have to generate the invoice in Lightning, and so like they're not going to generate a smaller invoice.
Yeah. The main issue is inbound liquidity for the vendors.
Yeah.
For the contractors and stuff. It really is tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless they are using custodial Lightning wallets themselves.
Yeah.
Because Lightning do provide an appropriate amount of privacy for this kind of problems. Surprisingly enough. I really wish people would sell Lightning as a privacy solution more. Anyways, so there is that. Zaprite, version 2025-04-14. They added client updates and an API to disable payment notifications option, API order creation field. It's kind of cool. They support everything there. Lots of plugins. They should support JM, running JM for you. All right, ESP Miner version 2.6.1. New features, Wi-Fi, a bunch of stuff. Krux update. Krux achieves first air-gap PGP signature using SPEC P256R1 NIST P256 curve, which requires coordinator for metadata support, and the R1 size efficiency for running microcontrollers and abandoning RSA due to processing intensive steps. Krux is a cool project.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few ESP32 chipset like projects that I support, and always recommend funding. They do recommend people use multisig. Iris Wallet Desktop version 0.2.0. This is an experimental release of Iris Wallet Desktop. Do they have a website? I need a logo to see if I remember what it is. Oh, is this for RGB? Yes, it's for RGB. All right. Bitcoin Core config generator updated. So LOP updated that for version 29. UTXOracle is now live.
That's a cool project. UTXOracle. Shout out to Steve. He hosts the Raleigh meetup every week. You can find it on meetup.com. But the project's cool because it just looks at the fact that humans tend to send rounded amounts in dollars, and you actually infer around tight bands of like $10, $100. You can actually infer that. So it's entirely on-chain. NBK, you'll love it. It's written in Python.
It's a single Python file.
It's a single Python script, and it just scans it the way software should be written, just one big Python file.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when people do that enterprise like Python where they go underscore init underscore. Why?
It's what the LLM gives them.
Why don't you call, a feature is the file name?
All you do is just make one giant thing called main.py and just put it all in there.
Yes. And then when it gets too big, then you break it apart.
No. You don't even do that.
No.
You put a table of contents at the top, and then you put comments along the file, and you make the comment and the table of contents one be the same, so you can control F for it. And that's all you got to do.
Yeah. There you go. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, there is some argument for that.
Great.
All right.
I'm happy we solved that.
Yeah, SwiftSync, smarter synchronization with hints. SwiftSync is a project of Ruben Samson.
Smarter synchronization with hints.
Unlike traditional Bitcoin Core validation, SwiftSync eliminates database lockups, reduces memory usage, and enables parallel processing.
I wonder how it's different from...
Do you want to prevent database lockups? Do you know the best way of doing that? You just put everything as a hash table. PrivatePond, a Bitcoin Payjoin application to optimize transaction rails for services such as deposits, withdrawals, and automated wallet rebalancing. Oh, it's by Krux. Krux is a dev at BTCPay Server. JoinMarket Fidelity Bond Simulator, a tool for JoinMarket makers to evaluate their competitive position in the market-based Fidelity bonds. Cool. So here's another small JoinMarket rant slash request is that like Jam is cool, but Jam is Node.js, and I'll never run Node.js in any machine that does Bitcoin. So it would be amazing if somebody wanted to work on making a JM new GUI that is in a sane dependency environment. Happy to participate in funding it. I'm sure OpenSats will also probably be interested in funding it. You know, we need sane dependencies in places that have Bitcoin. DahLIAS, discrete logarithm-based interactive aggregated signatures. Cool. Satoshi Escrow. Rijndael, where is your thing?
You skipped it. You didn't refresh the list.
Oh.
Johnny told us to refresh. You didn't hit refresh. So do we want to start warming up for Taplocks? Let's talk about Taplocks.
Yes, please.
Sure. Yeah, so Taplocks is a technique, I guess, that we wrote up, I think 2 weeks ago. It was like right before Up Next. So here's like, so the TLDR is that it's a way of putting like a hash lock over a tap leaf so that it's unspendable without a pre-image reveal. And the thing that's special about it is that it works even if there's an op success in the tap leaf. So, you know, the way that op success works is if a tap script contains op success anywhere in it, even if you say false op if, and then you have the op success, if the op success is anywhere in there, the script is automatically valid.
Which is different than like an op-nop, right, in legacy script.
Which is very different from like an op-nop, because like with an op-nop, you could stick that behind a conditional. And if the conditional isn't evaluated, then it doesn't do anything. With op success, the way that Bitcoin works is it looks for op successes before it actually interprets your script, which is really interesting. So if you wanted to have a tap leaf that was unspendable without some pre-image reveal, if it contains an op success, you can't really do that. Or at least that's what we thought. And then the solution to that is Taplocks. So like a motivating problem here is we were talking about policy signers earlier. Let's say that you wanted to do a policy signer to emulate a future soft fork or a future opcode. So you want to emulate like CTV, or you want to emulate CAT or checksig from stack or op ZK or some post quantum thing or whatever, right? What you could do is you could have a policy signer and say, this thing just spits out a pub key and you encumber your Bitcoin to that pub key. And then whenever you want to spend it, you have to send that thing your CTV script or your CAT script along with a witness. It evaluates it. And if it's valid, then it cosigns your transaction. That's like a way that you could emulate any of these soft forks now, under the trust assumption that like the policy signer isn't going to like rug you. And if you're worried about that, then you say, I'm going to make a multi-sig and have like multiple policy signers, right? And like that's a reasonable thing to do. Now you start looking kind of like the liquid security model, right? Okay, if you actually did that and you're massively successful and there's like thousands of UTXOs or hundreds of thousands of UTXOs out there that are encumbered by your emulation, you're going to have a problem when the thing actually gets activated, because you want to be able to turn off these policy signers. And you don't want to have like this long tail of UTXOs that you have to like slowly migrate over time. So what you'd like to be able to do is have a tap leaf that uses the actual script with the new opcodes. So when the soft fork happens, you can turn off all the policy signers and then everybody just signs on the real tap leaf using actual CTV or CAT or whatever. But if you have that script in there, and people can put it together, then because it contains op success, it's trivially spendable by anybody before CAT, CTV, whatever becomes active. So the idea is that you have what's called a tap lock, which is kind of like a hash lock over those tap leafs. And then when CAT, CTV, whatever becomes active, the policy signers reveal a pre-image, and now you can spend along those tap leaves. So that's the motivation.
Well, that's cool. Did you vibe that implementation?
No, I came up with the design unaided by AI. The part that I vibe coded a little bit was the way that this works. So the way that this works under the hood, right, is you have your policy signer, which is kind of like this trusted oracle that's going to have a secret pre-image that they reveal after like CTV or CAT or whatever goes live. So what they do is they pick their secret nonce value, and they start computing a tap leaf hash, because the way that Taproot works is you take all your scripts, you hash them into what's called a tap leaf hash, and then you take the tap leaf hashes and you make a tree out of it, and that's your Taproot tree. So they start computing a tap leaf hash using a push, like an op push and a secret value, and then they stop computing the tap leaf hash and they save off the SHA-256 mid state, and they give that to all the clients that need to build their scripts. And then you append the rest of your script to it and then complete the tap leaf hash. And what you have now is a tap leaf hash, but without this secret value, you can't actually build the whole pre-image that hashes to the tap leaf hash. The problem, though, is that no sane person is going to commit to a script that has an unknown blob of script at the top of it, because who knows what the fuck is in there. So the signer that generates this little blob also makes a zero knowledge proof showing that what's in that blob is only a 32-byte data push and some padding, and that there's no malicious script fragments in there. So I vibe coded the ZK prover for that. That was the part that I vibe coded.
Yeah. It gets to an important question of when you're trying to design for things that future changes in the future. If you want to be able to prototype and be able to do things now, you've been typically relegated to like Signet, Inquisition, some sort of like sidechain with no economic value. But this allows you to kind of parlay that to doing something on mainnet, having activity, and having an actual on-chain path to execute a decentralized or just executing the code as is. Right. And that lets you delicately do a handoff instead of like, okay, it's active. Now everyone who's been using this needs to migrate to this new address set. Like it just is already in there.
Right. We all have to stop. Like, can you all stop trading?
Yeah. Yeah. We have to become Vitalik. Yeah.
And you have to say like, all right, we're going to keep the policy signer up for 6 months. You have 6 months to migrate your coins or they become unspendable. And then at the end of that, like you turn off the keys, you delete them, and like all this money gets burned. So yeah, I think that something like this is the missing piece for if you want to, like Jeremy Rubin built a CTV emulator 4 years ago or something, like a long time ago. People have talked about emulating future opcodes using policy signers forever, but I think I haven't seen anybody sort of play that out of like, okay, what happens when it's actually successful? Like, how do we wind this down and how do we migrate people? And that was a body of work that we were working on. And we ran into this problem of you can't have this alternate spend path, especially in multi-party protocols where everybody has to know what the tap tree is. How do you hide something in there, but have it not be malicious? And the answer is to abuse SHA-256 mid-state and use ZKPs.
That's going to be a lot of chain abuse.
Yeah. Lot of abuse, but it's all off-chain abuse, which is new for us.
Yes, I know. I think it's always like humanity literally has existed with off-chain abuse for forever. Fiat is like that.
That's right. Yeah,
super cool. It's important for people to find a way to express all these ideas and figure out how to like play with stuff and come up with cool shit. I have such a hard relationship with changes to Bitcoin and forks and stuff. It's like there's the things I want, but there's other people who have things they want that I don't want. So the best way to think about all this is just zero sum, no change.
Well, and I think like we were talking about the Coldcard cosigner thing earlier.
Yep.
This is a policy signer thing. Like not everybody's going to get every change that they want, but you still want to be able to do things with your Bitcoin. So, and like we talked about this in our panel at Up Next a bit, like there's probably a bigger place in the future for better policy signers, and like having more robust infrastructure around policy signing is a pretty unexplored area.
Yeah, definitely. Co-signing, policy signing, being able to like off-chain extensions of this stuff. I think it's definitely underexplored space.
Are you talking about extensions, Rob?
Not extension blocks, just extending the ability to do things in Bitcoin with a co-signer.
I think this category that's very new, hardware wallets, right? Like sort of like develop. Maybe we find a secure enough version of this, maybe aided by multiple devices, whatever the fuck this ends up looking like, that resolves a lot of the immediate needs that we have, and then things just keep on going, right?
I heard Coldcard's going to add a cat emulator into CK Bundle. Right. That's what I heard.
That's right.
There's not enough memory.
Bitcoin.subforks.org easily compare various features. CTV and CSFS. I can't say that ever. Enable Bitcoin node, Mutiny, Signet, Docker setup. UTXOscope, a text-only BTC price heat map built only from UTXOs inspired by UTXOracle. Block Bitcoin Treasury, a visualization of blocks Bitcoin Treasury holdings. Yeah, not enough coin, guys. Buy more coin. You guys, your competition is MSTR. Oh, it's like that's the block clock copy.
Yeah, but it looks terrible on mobile.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Oh, I'm glad. It's made of Goose. It was vibe coded into existence.
It was vibe coded in Goose. Yeah.
Yes, it was vibe coded. This is like Jack all over it. This is like what he spent his last month working on, probably. Waye. This is how it would say it. WAYE.
Waye.
Why? Oh, I think we mentioned this before, and we figure out how to say it, but whatever. Website discover tools for programs for support, systems design, help open source developers thrive. Sovereign Craft, a Bitcoin-based Minecraft server offering educational gaming experience. Vulnerability disclosures, pay to ink or outputs exploited for block.
It wouldn't be a Bitcoin.review episode if one of the points wasn't just a Mononaut tweet.
Yes.
So we have a Mononaut tweet of the vulnerability disclosure here is that the JPEGers have discovered ephemeral anchors. So do you want to
That's not really that's not a vulnerability disclosure.
It's not. That's why I'm laughing.
Usage warning. Oh no, people are using Bitcoin. What will we do if they use Bitcoin?
That's what's so funny. I saw that and I was like, this isn't a vulnerability. It's people using the feature. But the vulnerability is it was the dirty JPEGers.
Poor Instagibbs. He's been writing all this code and like the degens are the majority of the users. Yeah. Very funny.
All right. CVE 2025-27-840 new ESP32 vulnerability threatens Bitcoin security. Oh, this was the crypto deep tech.
Yeah.
That made it broke Grubbles. It made the Blockstream guys very grumpy about it. So there's two versions of this story. One is somebody essentially like used like AI to sort of examine some code or like design things and try to come up with some ways you could exploit things. The other one is like some of the people who created some of those attacks used shitty AI to translate some of the things that they did, and then it came out really crappy, and then they used AI to sort of like come up with some extra juicy things. Anyways, there is no good way of putting this. The point that I like to make is very simple. ESP32 was not designed to hold secrets like Raspberry Pis, and just don't use them to hold secrets. It really is that simple. It's fantastic DIY little platform for people to, control Christmas lights, make hardware wallets for developing countries, but it's not something used for hardware wallets, especially if you're like don't have secure elements, don't have other things going on in there, and are programming them in China. There's no amount of saltiness that would change that.
I was cleaning out my my office. Inside this duct-taped card box is an ESP32 that controls an aquarium pump that waters my Christmas tree. Excellent application.
Good case. Did you 3D print that?
It's literally a playing card box that I duct taped together.
It's amazing what you get on a ESP32 for the amount of money you pay. Like,
it's a great little platform. It's so good.
Oh my God, the amount of memory you get on it is insane.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and like it's like pretty fast.
Yes. It really is cool. It's a great platform, just not for hardware wallet.
And it's dirt cheap. It's so inexpensive.
Yep. It's like China at its best. It's like bypass every IP possible they could get sued for somehow, and then make it very cheap, don't pay licensing, and sell to the world.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like you should just have a drawer full of them, and then whenever you have like something in your life that needs automation, just like grab an ESP32 out of the drawer. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, very cool platform. Breaking CDSA with 2 affinity related nonces. This is above my pay grade.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use deterministic nonces, you don't have to worry about this.
Yes. Chinese Shoji phones contain pre-installed malware targeting cryptocurrency users. Another reason for why you don't use ESP32. Any platform from China is going to likely have backdoors. It's not FUD. It's just undocumented design. It's just how it works over there. It's so hard to explain this to people. It's a different expectation on how things are built and created. You know, MediaTek is the perfect example of that. MediaTek is probably who made the chips for this phone. By the way, MediaTek is not allowed to sell those phones in North America or Europe. That's why they get away with like bypassing all the IP licensing. X users discover hidden data access beyond official API. Tor Browser developer tools by filtering network requests, user by screen name, blah, blah, blah. A technique exposes sensitive metadata, including not safe for work flags and other things.
I mean, it makes sense that we would have a Twitter vulnerability in the vulnerability disclosures because Bitcoin Twitter is Bitcoin at this point, right?
Yep. Because people refuse to be Nostr Twitter.
That's right.
Sorry, Nostr Bitcoin.
Bitcoin Nostr.
Kind of saying the same word twice, right? You're saying the same word twice. Bitcoin Nostr, it's the same thing.
Bitcoin Nostr. The mailing list should be on. It's so fucking idiotic. Why isn't the mailing list on Nostr? It's like, it is literally the solution for that problem. It's a public list.
Pub sub. Yeah.
It really is the perfect use of that technology. It's very aggravating.
Well, and it's also a great use because like it will motivate more software development on Nostr, because like when people try to use it for that, they'll be like, oh, it's really annoying that I can't do X. Cool. Go write a client to do it.
I was laughing because I thought Rijndael was going to say it was going to make Bitcoin developers use Bitcoin with the elliptic curve operations to sign the Nostr post.
I mean, that too.
Yes.
People are going to be like, wow, these X-only keys. Oof.
Oof.
Yeah.
Go back.
What are you going to do? I mean, I understand the disdain for somebody to be completely against somebody storing JSON objects in a database. It is so retarded that it might just work.
Be the change which is seen in the world. When the CoinKite store is natively on Nostr, I just connect to the CoinKite store relay, and I just send over a bunch of JSON blobs to fill up my cart, and you store those JSON blobs on your side. Then I'll know that we've arrived.
That's right. Thanks to everyone who sent in questions. Okay, we got some questions here. How do we open timestamps for transfer of assets using two-part integrity between holders? Average Gary.
How do we use open timestamps for transfer of assets using two-party integrity between holders? You could anchor the transaction happening. You can't, right? This is the nature of Bitcoin is you can't enforce the property rights, but you can show that a transaction happened. Yeah, I'm a little confused.
Well, and also you can't show that it wasn't double spent. Like that's the bigger problem.
Right.
Yeah. Another problem too is that I think people fail to understand this, is that the law may not agree with your signature.
Yeah.
Right.
Title is always up for discussion.
Yeah.
Possession is not. It's a very different thing. So those two concepts legally always sort of like bang against each other. And, what Bitcoiners have is possession. Title is something that is proven in court, essentially. Yeah. Does Cove have testnet 4, average Gary? I don't know. I can't remember if they have testnet 4 or if it's...
Or Signet?
Signet. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Well, it's BDK. Whatever BDK has should work.
BDK can support all of them.
Okay.
That's not a problem. I'm looking in the settings right now for Cove. Right now it has testnet and Signet and Bitcoin. So I don't know if it's testnet 3 or testnet 4 though.
Yeah. Can you explain 5-year-old opcodes are? How they are used on the network and the level of optionality that applies to them? Like, think about opcodes as just the little instructions that Bitcoin has to do its things. For example, opcheck template verify.
I was going to say just op check sig. Literally just like, which is op do Bitcoin, right? It just says like, okay, is this signature tied to this transaction? Is it valid, right? Like it's doing all of the instructions. A simple one to be op check multisig.
Think about this little formulas of like what to do, a little function.
And it's like what conditions are locking your Bitcoin. So like when you have a Bitcoin address, your Bitcoin address commits to a set of conditions that lock your Bitcoin. And in order for you to spend your Bitcoin, you have to meet those conditions. And the one that everybody's familiar with is like, I have to sign over the transaction, but it could be a time lock. Like it has to wait this many blocks. It could be a multi-sig. It has to be, 2 signatures out of these 3 keys. Those things are all expressed as opcodes. And so when people talk about adding opcodes to Bitcoin, it's like, can we add new conditions to secure our coins?
Just think of that as the scripts. Those little things together is what makes the transactions be valid or not valid.
Yeah.
All right. Please discuss this idea, block-based one-time password for Bitcoin wallet passphrase validation. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm actually have Cove Wallet open right now, and I'm setting to testnet 3 and testnet 4 and seeing what transaction shows up to answer Gary's other question. So I'll have an update in a moment. But in the meantime, I don't have any thoughts on TOTP for block height based for passphrases.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Doesn't seem quite right. Quantum resistance address. Where do you all stand? That's Johnny.
You got the Johnny.
Johnny question there. We're doxing him with his question, and we said we're not going to answer. The point is, if that is a concern, airplanes will fall off the sky, and everything else ends before you're concerned about your corn. Only lead will be your friend. I like to put the quantum question. It's very similar to like, are earthquakes a problem to Bitcoin?
They exist.
Are they affecting you? No, I'm kidding. It's a terrible analogy. Horrible analogy. Just think about the airplanes falling off the sky. There's weaker crypto out there that'll start being broken before, and literally airplanes will fall off the sky.
I think it's also just like not obvious what the solution is. That's like part of the problem too.
Well, mostly because like each technology is going to have to be addressed differently, right?
Yeah.
Because not everything you can just stick in a bigger crypto solution in there. There's no good answers because it's still not a real problem, in my opinion. With all my years of quantum computer knowledge and understanding and expertise. I'm more concerned about AI, de-anonymizing people than I am about shit like this. All right, Tor Browser, version 14.5, Tails OS updated, NIM VPN updated, Maple AI updated. Project Spotlight, Git with me, peer-to-peer encrypted ephemeral Git collaboration, Git daemon. Oh, that's interesting. Too bad it's not over Nostr. Lightning +2 plus L2 plus, the woke part of the show. Project Spotlight, Misty Breez, a hybrid Lightning liquid network wallet built in with nodeless Breeze SDK, sovereign tools. Silk Road on Lightning. a marketplace for legal items, services
Only the legal ones.
using Bitcoin on Lightning Network, Cashew token decoder. All right. How long we been here, guys, for? I lost track of it.
We're coming up on
An hour and 4.
Yeah.
Zeus updated, LDK updated.
Zeus is cool. No, Zeus is cool. They now accept Cashew. So you can receive Cashew, and then you can, when you get to a certain amount of Cashew tokens, you can swap it out of the mint into your own Lightning channel.
Cashew really is the L2 of Lightning, right? Like it really is
Yes.
L3 as Kali hates me saying that.
I love it.
Cashew is the perfect L3.
It's an
It has the correct types of trade-offs.
Yeah.
It solves all the issues that we had with L2. It requires L2 to work in any reasonable, trustworthy.
Which means it's L3.
Yeah.
Which means it's L3. You heard here first years ago, so.
Also, just to shill a bounty that I'm co-sponsoring,
Ooh.
the Open Cash Foundation, which is like they sponsor Cashew development.
Yep.
I'm co-sponsoring a bounty if somebody wants to do a Cashew BTCPay Server plugin. So you can like go and pay for things on BTCPay Server with Cashew.
Well, I'm surprised it's not there already. It's super easy.
I am too. I am very surprised.
Oh, you know what? It's C#. C# is the barrier.
Yeah, but like vibe coding is a thing now. So if somebody wants to go vibe code some C#,
There's nothing like vibe coding payments technology.
yeah.
Cryptography based payments technology. Oof.
Vibe coding Cashew, though. Small amounts.
Well, but also like I don't know if you have to like re-implement Cashew. Like you might be able to just do bindings from a Cashew implementation into C#. I don't know. Anyway, there's a bounty out for it. I hope somebody collects the bounty.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Rijndael, for putting out the bounty. Minibits Wallet updated. Hydro's updated. Noster. Atomic signature swaps over Noster. That's interesting for markets, maybe. And exchanges. Lantern, a layered annotation noting to emphasize of readable on Noster. Promenade, a provider of multisig for events on Noster and destroyer of encryption. A project by Fiat Jeff. And off enclave, a safer Noster NIP46 signer, AWS Nitro. No AWS. AWS doesn't solve problems, it creates problems. Please. You know, SGX is not how you fix the world, it's how you break it. Take the head out of the credit card solution gutter. GM swap, atomic exchange of good morning notes using more Dr. Signature.
Excellent.
Amazing. I mean, there is a bunch. People should just subscribe to the Bitcoin.review Substack and get this whole list of the 95% that we skipped so far.
You want to read boosts?
Yes. Okay, where is it?
There's a whole quantum section in here, Johnny.
Yes, there is a quantum section, Johnny. I cannot find the boosts.
It's right above Optech.
There you go. Thanks everyone who streamed the sats. Top booster, Rod Palmer, Bogo News. PodConf approved. Finally, we've made it. I don't understand what was the comment. Like, Rod, please boost us again on the next episode to let me know what was the thing that made us be approved. Because we've been trying for years now with the show, and we had never been able to make it.
There you go.
And we want to keep the narrative going correctly to your liking.
That's right. It's good content. I don't know. The Bugle Boys, I'm not sure. I'm wearing a Bitcoin Bugle shirt today for all of the people paying the Noster premium tier to see shirtless NBK.
All right. Pink Monkey, Hoa, lots of emojis. BTC on board. Happy to discover this AI called a podcast. Jess Pada, feeding the show DVM right now, then asking O1 to write the spec, then cursor equal profit. Rijndael, did you listen to the last episode?
No, I didn't.
It was vibe heavy.
Okay, I'm going to have to go back and listen.
You might learn how to prompt.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I need to make a t-shirt that says learn to prompt.
Oh, that's really good.
Right? It's the new meme. It's the new learn to code is learn to prompt.
Yeah, that's very good.
Average Gary, does eCash enable blinded auditing for Bitcoin books? First 30 minutes in. Blinded audit. I'm not sure. Average Gary asks good, hard questions. All right, that's it, guys. I've lost my co-host. He literally walked away.
Rob just left.
I'm looking for a laptop charger. I missed it. What I miss?
Everything.
You know, it can't be repeated.
Perfect.
It was a one-time.
We cured cancer.
It was amazing.
Well, I'll never be able to listen to it because this is the end of the episode. I'll be asleep by then.
Truth.
Long before this.
All right, boys. Listen, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure having a drink or two or many more at Up Next with you guys. I hope the CIA boys enjoyed the feed of the steakhouse dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they love that.
It was spectacular. Yeah, any final thoughts, Rob?
Final thoughts. Thanks for having me on. There's nothing happening in Bitcoin. Just a quick shout out. We're looking to hire a full stack dev. So hit me up at rob@anchorwatch.com if you're interested or learn about more of what we're doing. Very interested now. I think I may have been CCC pilled thinking about that op vault construction, Rijndael. I'm going to go to the lab and think about that for a bit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and send us feedback too, because maybe there's ideas there that we can expand on it.
Of course.
Rijndael.
Learn to prompt.
Learn to prompt, baby. Since we're on the hiring thing, we're looking for a production manager.
Oh, cool.
Anybody who has experience, and ideally, if you speak Mandarin, would be great. That's where a lot of the parts and things need to be made or come from. So it'd be great if you could reach us out. You're never going to have to talk to people, and we're Spectrum friendly, and there is no Slack. And ideally, you work in your own house because we don't have an office. It's the correct way. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Awesome show.
Adios.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. For more resources, check the show notes. We put a lot of effort into them. And remember, we don't have a crystal ball, so let us know about your project. Visit bitcoin.review to find out how to get in touch.